Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for an episode of The Power to Inspire. I've had amazing guests on the show, and now I'm just going to have an episode where I will teach you how to meditate. So meditation has been a gift that I've had in my life since I turned 18, so over 20 years ago, and it's played such an important part in my life that this is something that I really want to share with you. Since the pandemic, meditation has become something that people have been gravitating towards more than before. I think it's still misunderstood, which is why I find it important to go over this with all of you. So there's the idea of listening to a guided meditation, which is definitely beneficial, and I will guide you through a 5-minute meditation at the end of this session. However, there's something really powerful about owning your own meditation practice. And that's what I will teach you to do today. So this is my gift to you. All right, starting at the beginning. When I turned 18, my grandfather, who was not the type of person that you would imagine to meditate, he was a business politician type guy, gave me a book on meditation by Eknath Easwaran, who is an Indian spiritual guru, has now since passed. And he told me to read this book and said, it will change your life. And he said if there's one thing that he could have done in his life, it would have been to read this book when he was younger as opposed to in his 70s. I'm really thankful that 18-year-old me, who is going off to university, very eager to explore the world, still made time to read that book. And that book definitely changed the course of how my life was to follow afterwards. I learned that we all have an inner world, a spirit, call it a soul, call it energy, whatever terminology resonates with you. It has nothing to do with religion. It's just part of our human experience, okay? So we have this kind of like energetic being that is us, that is always there for us, that is our foundation, and that actually connects us to everyone else in the world and connects us to the powers and the wisdom of the universe, universal energy, and universal consciousness, okay? So if you can picture like your cell phone and how every so often you have to plug in your cell phone to charge it, that's how I see meditation, is that we're constantly bombarded with a million different events or stimuli from the external world. And when you meditate, you just decide to close off the noise, go inside and recharge. It may feel lonely, but it's actually where you're connecting on the most authentic level to universal energy and power. So if you start to see it that way, you'll start to feel those benefits, all right? And this could be even as little as 5 minutes a day, ideally at the beginning of the day, or it could be in the afternoon if you want a break from your work or from studying or whatever it might be, or even in the evening before bed if you want to switch off from the events of the day. Just calm yourself down and ensure that you have a really peaceful, restful sleep, all right? The key with meditation is to build a practice, okay? And that's what's cool about this concept of practice, is that it's not perfect. It'll never be perfect. We're just practicing meditation. And eventually you form a habit. And the days where you don't meditate feel really different than the days that you do, okay? So for instance, in my own life, if I meditate, I'm in the flow. It's like this concept where things are synchronistic. Everything's working out. I'm on time. It feels effortless and easy, and life is really enjoyable when you're living in that space. We've all felt that. You know how that feels. Something might throw you off, but if you have been meditating, you know how to get back to that place quicker so that you don't fall into that downward spiral. All right. What happened was I started meditating after reading the book, and, you know, as life passes on, sometimes you forget about meditation, and then something throws you off. Maybe it's a breakup, maybe it's a bad grade, maybe it's your boss, your parents, and you don't feel great and you don't know what to do. And there's so many ways of dealing with that feeling. And there are healthy ways of dealing with it, and there are not so healthy ways of dealing with it. And I've definitely experienced both. There is the unhealthy way of potentially feeling like you want to drink or smoke weed or do whatever to escape this feeling, or there are healthier ways of tackling it, such as talking to a friend, going for a walk, or exercising, or meditating. And meditating is so easy because it doesn't require anything and it doesn't require anyone, and it's always there for you. And throughout the years, when I've gone through difficult times, as I've gone through divorces or disappointments, I've always known that meditation was there as my friend to hold me up. And I knew with certainty that everything would always be okay. So although we think of meditation as just a stress reliever, it's so much more. It's expanding that foundation of faith and confidence that you have access to within yourself, in your being, at all times. Went on to practice meditation mostly when things weren't going as well, but then I learned to also incorporate it into my life when things were going well. And then I started to see the massive benefits of meditating regularly, irrespective of what's going on in my life. So when things are going well and you continue to meditate, you feel the momentum pick up. It's almost like magic, and things just start happening the way you want them to happen. Opportunities pop up, people come into your life. They say there are no coincidences. Everything is energetically connected. And when you put yourself on that vibration, it's all coming to you. And you can really feel that. And it's actually a really rewarding feeling, which is what helps us continue to practice our meditation on a daily basis. A lot of having a successful meditation practice is mindset. Okay, so we can look at these positive outlets like exercise or meditation as a chore, something on our to-do list, something we should be doing. Or we can flip that and say, this is something I have the luxury of doing. What a blessing it is that I can take out some time from all the madness and just focus on me and regain my inner peace. Okay, there are many definitions of success. Some people think success is financial or whatever how you may look, but ultimately, the ultimate success is feeling inner peace. If you feel inner peace in your life, you've basically achieved the highest state possible, because you're in a position to accomplish whatever you need to accomplish, to be great in your relationships with those you love, and to just really enjoy your life. So yeah, I've learned that. Eventually, people started asking me if I could teach them how to meditate. And I felt like it was such a sacred practice and I didn't want to get it wrong. And I wasn't sure exactly how to teach that. So I didn't. And then when I was on my maternity leave with my son, I decided to certify as a meditation instructor. Okay. It had nothing to do with my career at the time. I was had been mainly on the corporate path up until then. And I took this course from the Chopra Center, led by Deepak Chopra, who's an amazing spiritual leader. And I learned how to teach meditation. And it's actually quite simple. And Deepak really swears by these 4 questions that I ask myself every day. Even on a day where I don't have time to meditate, I'll run through them like in the shower or before bed or at any time that things quiet down. So I'll explain these 4 questions to you, and then you'll have the opportunity to go through them for yourself when I lead you through the guided meditation for a couple of minutes. The first question is, who am I? It's a really weird question, right? It's not one that we ask ourselves very often. So we play so many roles as a human. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And as humans, we could be a daughter or a son, a sibling, a friend, a spouse, a girlfriend, boyfriend, an employee, a boss. These are roles that we play, okay, as humans. But underneath all of that, there's someone that's been there with you since the day you were born, that's always going to be there with you for your whole life. And that's really your true self, your highest self, your true self. And getting to know that person is really, really powerful. Nothing can shake you when you truly get to know who you are. And this can scare some people because we aren't used to asking those questions and looking inwards to find out who we truly are. But the reality is that our true self is perfect just as it is. It's a space where there's no judgment, there's no criticism. That's where you find self-love, self-acceptance, and you realize that that is always there for you to ground you at any point where you might be going through something difficult or you have doubt. Now, the interesting thing is that we also have a mind, okay? And our mind will either listen to thoughts that come from the true self, or it'll listen to thoughts that come from the ego. And the ego is a side of us that's there to protect us. The ego is based in fear. The true self is based in love. The mind can either listen to thoughts from the ego and feel fearful emotions after those thoughts, or it can listen to thoughts from the true self and feel positive emotions. Now, a major life hack is identifying how you feel. Your emotions, your feelings are your true north. They are your compass. If you're not feeling good, it means that your mind is listening to the thoughts that are coming from your ego. And your ego will constantly cause drama to try and protect you. So there's no point in getting upset against the ego. It's just accepting that that's the ego's role. But what we want to do is spend less and less time listening to the thoughts from the ego and more time listening to the thoughts that come from our true self. And we'll know if we're achieving this by how good we feel, right? When we start to live in this way and become conscious of our feelings and our thoughts, you'll see how quickly you start to be able to pick up on it, okay? And the meditation itself will calm you, but the effects that you'll feel after the meditation will be a heightened awareness of your feelings and your thoughts, and the ability and the self-discipline to choose more thoughts that come from the true self and less thoughts that come from the ego. All right. So for instance, you have a thought from the ego that's not making you feel good. You're like, oh, why did I say that? That was so stupid. I shouldn't have said that thing. Oh my gosh, this always happens to me. Okay, that feels like anxiety. Right away, you can stop it and be like, oh my gosh, ego, you're going over all of that because you're trying to protect me. I get it. Thank you so much for your help, but I don't need help right now. We're cool. I'm not going to focus on that. And then you go into the true self and you practice self-acceptance and self-love. And you're like, you know what? I did my best. I'm a good person and I can carry on and just keep living my life without having to torment myself. So just little tiny exercises like that have the potential to completely transform your experience on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Who am I? I'm my true self. I'm love. I'm light. I'm life. I'm a miracle. The chances that you even were conceived as a human being are pretty miraculous, right? So we're all those things that are far greater than us, really, okay? Second question, what do I want? Interesting one. Because society's taught us that wanting is greedy and greed is bad. But actually, what I learned from Deepak that really resonated for me is that desire is what pushes us to create. And when you think about creativity, you might be thinking about like artists who are creative. I'm not creative. No, we are all creators of our experience. Every day you're creating your life, whether it's a life you want or it's a life you don't want, you are the creator. And therefore, when you honor your desires and you start to listen from the desires that are intuitively coming from your true self, then you're building the masterpiece of your life. You're sowing those seeds that come from the desire that are pushing you to do something greater. And even if it happens to be something material that you might want, so long as it's coming from a positive intention and that you're a good person and you're not harming anyone, there's no problem with that because it might push you to do your work that's purposeful and help employ people and help generate good in so many other ways. And maybe that car that you wanted to buy actually ends up just being the catalyst for great accomplishments in your life. So you don't have to beat yourself up that you're greedy, so long as you're not a greedy person, right? So think about what you want. Really, what do you want? And it can be anything. How do you want to feel? You will start to get answers that come to you in meditation where you're not using your logic, you're listening. And this is when you start to get visions of what's meant for you and your life. And that's where it gets really exciting, because what you want will be different from what anyone else in the world wants. So you have to honor that, okay? And when you identify it, you're a step closer to actually making it a reality. The third question, what is my purpose? Another slightly daunting one. Purpose feels like a big term, right? And I think that purpose is actually multifaceted. You can have a huge overarching purpose, like some of these great spiritual leaders have had in the past. Or you can just have pretty small purposes on a day-to-day basis that bring meaning to your life. The reason we're talking about purpose is because it equates to meaning, and living a meaningful life makes us feel fulfilled, okay? So even if today your purpose is to just not lose your cool with your kids and remain calm, that's an amazing purpose. And it will have a huge ripple effect on those that are around you. So identifying a purpose for yourself, be it on a day-to-day basis, or if you do have a larger purpose that comes to you, like some charity that you'd like to help out or some work that you want to accomplish, that's awesome too. And it's nice to constantly anchor yourself in that, because it makes you realize that the little things that aren't going well in your life are small compared to the huge perspective of this purposeful life that you're actually living and creating. All right, the fourth one, what am I grateful for? This is probably the easiest, right? There's always something to be grateful for. Starting with our health, starting with our life. I've spoken about before the fact that my brother is mentally handicapped. So this is something for me that's really second nature. I remember growing up, like even as a child, understanding that I had so many opportunities that he didn't, but like really basic opportunities like intelligence and the freedom to do whatever I wanted to do. And in ways I have probably dedicated a lot of what I've done to him, because I was the one that got the opportunity to do these things. So gratitude for anything, for the people in your life, for everything that you've accomplished and that you have. It's okay to have gratitude for yourself too. It's healthy to feel proud for the good things that you've done in your life. That fills you up and reconnects you to your true self. All right? Great. Once we go through the 4 questions, and you can do this on your own in your own practice, you'll then take some time to repeat a mantra, okay? And the mantra that we'll use is soham. This is a Sanskrit term that means I am, okay? And it's just about bringing you back to yourself, your true self. The act of meditation, a lot of people think they can't meditate because they get distracted. But that's like exactly what happens in meditation for everyone. It's impossible to completely silence your mind. And so meditation itself is the act of focusing on the mantra, soham, soham, what am I having for dinner? And then just watching that thought and being like, okay, back to the mantra, soham, soham. This is ridiculous, it's not working. No judgment, back to soham. Another thought, back to soham. This back and forth is what strengthens you, because your mind is now understanding that you're in control. And then when you're in the outside world and you have a bad thought, it becomes so easy to just switch and say, no, we're not listening to that, because you've practiced it in the meditation. Okay, so that back and forth is absolutely normal. You'll have these really cool moments where you're like in the mantra and you don't have distracting thoughts, and that's called the gap. It doesn't last for very long. It kind of feels like you maybe have fallen asleep, but you're not sure. And that is like an extremely healing state for our brain to be in. Our brain waves change when we're in meditation. We have different brain waves when we're asleep, when we're awake, and when we're meditating. And when we're meditating, we actually enter into a brain wave that gives us access to our subconscious, which is why it's so cool to ask yourself those 4 soul questions before starting your meditation, because then you enter into this brain wave where you have access to your subconscious and you've just put out all these amazing things that you want for your life out into the universe and into your spirit. And then you feed your subconscious with those when you go into the silence of the meditation. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. We'll say so hum for a couple of minutes, and then I'll just tell you that the meditation is over, and we'll set some intentions before we enter back into our day-to-day life. For anyone out there who has trouble closing their eyes during the meditation, that's not a problem. It's totally fine. The idea is to minimize distractions, okay? So yes, if you can go somewhere quiet, that's great. If you can make sure your family doesn't walk in on you, amazing. If you want to keep your eyes open, that's fine. You feel more comfortable that way, that's fine. I suggest sitting with a backrest. If you sit on a chair, make sure your feet are touching the ground for grounding purposes. If you're on the floor, I usually sit on a cushion, but I do put my back against the wall because otherwise I find it distracting. Like I start to feel my back and I'm like moving like this. So just make sure you're as comfortable as possible and just see it as a luxury. And it's your time to really connect with yourself and remind yourself of the life that you want to create. Okay? So we'll start by taking 3 deep breaths. First breath. Immediately you feel the tension dissipating from your physical body. Second breath. Really draw it out. Third breath, just feel the breath fill you up all the way to the top of your head. Hold it for a second and then let it all out. Okay, let's begin. Who am I? I am Caroline Desmarais. I am Caroline. I am. I. And merge with the greater consciousness. Honor all the roles you play. Know with certainty that you're part of something much bigger. And you always have access to that side of yourself, your true self, which is grounded in love. What do I want? We're conditioned to try and please everyone else. This is a time to honor your desires. They matter. What is my purpose? We are all here for a reason. We matter to so many people. We have the potential to make change. What am I grateful for? Feel the gratitude. It's a feeling. Bask in that feeling. Say thank you silently in your mind 3 times. Now we'll repeat the mantra, so hum quietly in our minds. Before we exit the meditation, we'll set the intention for a joyful, energetic body, a loving and compassionate heart, an alert and reflective mind, and lightness of being. Namaste. You can open your eyes if your eyes were closed. Hopefully that felt relaxing and that gave you a sense of what it feels like to connect, reconnect with yourself. The intentions we set at the end are important to keep in mind. Joyful, energetic body, loving, compassionate heart, an alert and reflective mind, and lightness of being. Catch yourself in your life when you're tending to make things more serious than they need to be. There's a time to be serious, but also we have a tendency to be serious when it doesn't necessarily require us to be. Example, my child knocks the glass of milk on the floor. Oh my gosh. It's making this very serious energy when really look for the opportunities to bring lightness of being to your experience. And it really, really relieves the people around you, because we all feel so weighed down in so many ways, whether it's through our monologue or other people or things that are going on. And it's such a gift to spread that lightness of being and just laugh things off and bring that perspective to yourself and others. All right. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm really looking forward to interviewing other guests on future episodes. And do remember to subscribe anywhere where you get your podcasts. And I'll look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Power to Inspire.